First instrument was piano.
Piano.
Yeah. And then I took up bass and organ at about the same time. My father was my parents were in variety, what you would call vaudeville, and he was a great pianist and an arranger. And my mum was a singer and a dancer. They used to have like a musical comedy act. But he was kind of intimidating as a pianist, and so I wanted to take up the organ, just so not to be like Dad, you know. But then I really wanted to play bass guitar, and he said, "Son, don't take up the bass guitar." He said, "It's a novelty instrument. You'll never have, in 2 years' time, nobody will ever heard of one, right?" So, but Dad, I really want. He said, "Well, take up the saxophone. You'll always work with the saxophone." I said, "No, I don't want to play the saxophone. I want to play the bass." So I managed to convince him to guarantee, because I was like 14, be the guarantor for the, what do you call it, layaway? Yeah. And then I paid for it by playing organ in church, and which I got $50 a year, a year, but it just covered the payments for the bass. And and then of course he heard me playing and then thought, okay. And so by then he was doing sort of small, local gigs and stuff like that. So he went, okay, come with me. So I used to go on gigs with him. We had a trio or a quartet, whatever was required. And he just said, okay, watch my left hand. And so I did, and I learned a huge amount from that. It was a great experience. My very first bass, it was a Dallas Tuxedo. It was the only bass made in England, I think, at that time. I think by Arbiter or somebody like that. And in fact, I found another one on eBay last year and I bought it. But it's an extraordinary instrument. The whole thing, it's made out of one piece of wood. Neck, everything. The whole thing's carved out of one block of wood. It's an astonishing thing. It's got a big fat neck on it, and it's got a single cutaway. It's kind of guitar shape with a single cutaway. It's that thick, weighs nothing, and actually had not a bad sound. The one I found, I bought in England, and it was, it may have been the same one, because I can't think that there were many of them. They made a guitar version, which evidently Lennon had. So there are pictures of John Lennon with the guitar version of it. And then my second bass was a Burns Artiste, I think it was, the two pickup one, or two pickup one was the bass, cherry red, which was great. And then I swapped that. Well, what happened from the first bass, I put it down in part exchange for the next bass, which I put down in part exchange for the next bass, which was my Fender jazz bass, which is a 1962 jazz bass. And I know it's 1962 because that was the year I bought it.
Do you still have it?
I still have it, yeah. I still use it. Not on stage, but I recorded it.
Wow.
So, and that was it. So I had one bass for many years, even with Zeppelin. Just the one. Well, the basses I use on stage are all made by Hugh Manson, who is actually taking for me, which is nice because he can set them up at the beginning of the show and make sure they're all in really good, playing order and good condition and everything. There's 4-string bass, which I think I only use one of in this show. Yeah, 4-string bass. Then there's the 10-string bass, which is basically a double 5-string. So there's 5 courses, 2 strings in each course, and the strings are in octaves. Okay, so it's like a kind of 12-string guitar, and that runs from E to high C. Then I have the 12-string bass, which is like a double 6, B to high C. What else? What else do I use? A bass mandolin, which is 2 octaves below a regular mandolin. Which also has double courses, all in octaves. So you've got that sort of, they've all got that sort of chimey sound, you can, and you can do some rather cool things with it, because you can, having the octave string, you can actually play chords or run lines against each other, so that things that would on a bass sound very muffled and woofy sound clear, because you can hear the melody strings, the high strings on on the multi-string basses. What else do I use? Bass lap steel, which is an 8-string instrument with 2 bass strings on it, going right the way down to bottom E. And then there's octave mandolin, which is not a bass, of course. What else is there? I think that's about it. Loads of influences. Pretty much everything I listen to is an influence. And I defy any musician to say that it's not. I mean, anything you switch on the radio, and there's always something you can take from every music, every style, even if it's the shallowest pop record to the to the heaviest jazz, whatever, avant-garde, anything. You can usually pick out, you can learn something, even if it's don't do that. You know what I mean? But I suppose when I was studying to play the bass, well, which I had a couple of lessons with somebody, but it was only just like hold your hand like that and try and extend and that sort of stuff. I had 2-3 lessons maybe. And but mainly I've done it by listening and playing to records. And on bass guitar, my influences were probably Duck Dunn, and then James Jamerson. And in the session world, I was if you wanted your record to sound American, you would call me, because I was the one who listened to all that stuff, the Motown stacks and all that sort of stuff. And so I could play it, and the arrangers couldn't generally write those parts because they were quite complicated, so they just used to write the chords up and go on, you know what to do, sort of thing. So, okay, great. So I had the freedom of pretty much improvising, through whole sessions, which was great. It was unusual. And jazz, probably, well, Charles Mingus, Ray Brown, and then Scott LaFaro. I mean, all these people. But I didn't only listen to bass players, obviously. I tried to listen to absolutely everything. And as I said, there's always something you can learn. No. I kind of practice when I need to. I play every day something, usually mandolin. Mainly because it's small, it's hanging on the wall, and you just pick it up and start playing. With a bass, you've got to go and find an amp, get it out, a chord and stuff like that. Acoustic instruments are just so accessible and instant. You can carry them on planes. It's great.